This is Assistant Director in charge of Arcade, Courtney Vance. Could you please state your name for the record?
Victor Valentine. Right quick, you mind if I smoke in here?
Actually, I would prefer if you...
I'm sorry, right quick. That sounded like a question. I assure you it wasn't.
That window doesn't open.
I'm aware.
Very well. Mr. Valentine, you are being considered for admission into service with Arcade. Many of the questions I'm about to ask you will be standard. I will also be asking you some questions regarding the encounter that you had with Agent Miller and what preceded that encounter before you met. I believe you know of the event of which I speak.
I think I might have an inkling. Please proceed.
Very good. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Convicted? No.
Have you ever had an encounter with what you would consider the supernatural?
Yes, I believe I do have a specific instance in mind. A deal at a crossroads, as it were.
You refer to the encounter that you had before you met Agent Miller?
Correct. I believe you said his name was Simon, if I'm not mistaken.
Simon?
Hmm?
Was it from this Simon that you acquired your abilities as an enhanced individual?
Acquired abilities, lost a taste, unfortunately.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
See these?
The cigar.
I am obligated to continue imbibing in these. However, I don't gain any joy or satisfaction from doing so. I do get a mighty sore throat, though. So, I'm about 2 weeks into what I'd consider a withdrawal period, despite the fact that I smoke all day long. I apologize if I'm a bit snippy.
I will have follow-up questions in a moment, but for now I need to proceed down the list of more standard questions. Do you understand who we are?
Some sort of government agency that deals with ghost spirits, all that and the like, I'd guess.
Close enough. We are the... You were recommended by Agent Miller. What is your impression of him?
It's hard to put a finger on, that's for sure. I can't quite get a beat on him. He seems very competent, but at the same time, I've never seen someone so... I've never seen that level of competence and brazenness in the same person. It is very off-putting, in a word.
Agent Miller has been an exemplary member of our organization for a long time. There are some habits of his that I wish our other agents would not take on.
Seems like a type to think of himself as a hammer and every problem's a nail, yeah?
More like a scalpel being wielded by a very sarcastic surgeon. If you join us, do you understand what you're agreeing to?
Well, I'd assume out the gate a lot more surveillance than I'm used to. Secondly, Miller mentioned something about people not remembering super well about what we are, what we do, that kind of thing, but aside from, I don't really much know specifics.
That is correct. And, to be frank, you would be being surveilled regardless. It's just that now you'll know about it and you'll be being paid while we do it.
Honestly, I wouldn't much consider working with you if you trusted me out the gate.
We don't trust anyone out the gate.
Good for you. Smarter than I thought.
That second part of what you mentioned, it is true. We utilize something called the gravity of balance. It is a powerful spell that causes non-magical individuals to forget our agents and their interactions with them. Certain magical entities or magic users have protections against such things, but those are few and far between. The only reason I feel comfortable telling you any of this is because if you do not make it through your candidacy, you will not remember any of this conversation.
Fair enough.
Now then, as you mentioned, you had a deal at the crossroads.
More of a stoplight, but yeah, essentially.
With an otherworldly entity.
That wouldn't be a bad way of putting it.
Could you describe that encounter for me?
Well, first odd thing about it, everything else seemed to vanish. It's like me and him were the only things around. Stood in the middle of a busy intersection with no cars, no people. Wandered out of a hospital that was fully staffed, to my knowledge, not 10 seconds beforehand. And yet, no one anywhere. It's like I was there, but I wasn't there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I approached. This man in a... You ever seen somebody with flawless execution of bad taste?
I work in the government.
Fair enough. Now, he had this god-awful suit on. Heavy-set man with a... I know this might sound a bit ironic, but a bit of an accent to it. And he came, said he wanted to offer me a deal. Said if I keep inviting my vice of choice, he'd stay the executioner's hand a bit, and he'd reward me in kind. After that, I was granted my abilities.
The executioner's hand?
Should state for the record, then. I was terminal. I had cancer.
Had? He cured it?
Well, I couldn't much tell you if he cured it, but I'm no longer dying, so he did something.
So, this entity presented himself as Simon.
Correct.
Cured your cancer and gave you enhanced abilities in exchange for you no longer feeling the buzz of nicotine?
The way it was described to me was that he's able to gain some measure of power from souls that are condemned that heavily imbibed in vices. All the more sweet, though, are the ones that he can drain directly from people who aren't dead yet. It's a more pure form of an enjoyment or power for him. On top of that, apparently, it is divinely reckoned that I have good taste. So to me, he came. Also, I was in a dire strait. I couldn't really say no, could I?
You made this deal, and it granted you power. What abilities did this grant you?
I've been gifted flight, the ability to create a rather thick smoke screen, pretty wide diameter at that, intangibility, and I hesitate to call it curses, but that's what they might feel like. The ability to affect others in certain which ways. Some are more simple than others, like choking somebody out by pushing smoke down their throats, but, some will get a little more nuanced. Like inflicting somebody with all the mental effects of going through a prolonged withdrawal in a very short amount of time.
I see something in your record here pertaining to your parents passing away when you were young.
Yeah, I said I had a couple experiences with the supernatural. The most pressing one was Simon, but yes.
You are originally from Louisiana?
That's correct. Surprised you didn't place my accent.
I tend not to assume. There are enough charlatans out in the world that can fake all sorts of appearances and voices. And to be frank, you seem like a charlatan.
I'd take a bit of umbrage with that. I'm a thief, not a charlatan.
Well, Mr. Valentine, on the strength of Agent Miller's recommendation alone, I'm going to see what I can do about your candidacy. And either you will soon be trained and inducted as a formal member of our organization, or you will never remember that any of this ever happened.
One last follow-up. Now, I'm sure to believe you when you say I won't remember any of this, but I was assured my grandparents, I apologize, would be going into some form of protective custody. Now, in the event that I am not eligible for this position, that still happens, correct?
Yes, that is something that Agent Miller stressed to me very much so. This had something to do with your previous workings with the Malakov Mafia in Emerald City?
I moved in direct opposition to them to assist Agent Miller.
Yes, he said as much in his report. I assure you, Mr. Valentine, we are very good at making people disappear.
Good. I'd hate to start this relationship off on a bad foot.
Indeed. Though your candidacy is still up in the air, at this point, I believe I can say, for now, Mr. Valentine, welcome to Arcade.